You ever hear the sound of a high-voltage arc at midnight like the universe just snapped its fingers and for a second the whole world goes quiet? That's how this story starts. And if you think you've heard suburban drama before, buckle up because this one isn't about hedge heights or lost Amazon packages. This is about the day a woman named Carol decided she could take what was mine, and I decided to show her she picked the wrong man to mess with. She said my charger was for the public good, that I was selfish and entitled. You can almost hear the HOA pamphlet crinkle in her voice. She didn't know my last job was designing digital fortresses for people way scarier than her, and well, she just declared war on the one guy in this town you don't ever want to cross. The first time it happened, I figured, okay, weird misunderstanding. Maybe a delivery guy, maybe a neighbor had car trouble. I just dragged myself home after a brutal 10-hour shift untangling some ransomware nightmare. All I wanted was to plug in my car, pour 2 fingers of bourbon, and let the day melt. But as I pulled up there, it was a gleaming white SUV, identical to mine, only newer and with a hint of smugness, right in the spot where Sarah, my wife, usually parks. But the real punch in the gut. There's my new charger. This slick wall-mounted unit I spent a weekend installing thick black cable leading straight into this stranger's SUV. The green light glowing, telling me my electricity's doing charity work without my consent. I cut the engine and just sat there, the kind of slow burn starting in your chest that lets you know, yeah, you're about to make a bad decision, but it'll feel so right. This is Westmere Heights land of manicured lawns where the biggest wars are over whether your azaleas match your mailbox. This was a different league of nerve. I stepped out, shoes crunching on the driveway, and walked up to the SUV. Tinted windows. Empty inside. A parking sticker on the windshield, so she's local. I followed the cable back to my charger, the one I'd wired straight into the main panel myself. My property, my power. Across the street, a woman's wrestling an inflatable flamingo half her size. I know her from the welcome email, Carol 2 houses down. She looked like she could bench press me and then file a complaint about my technique. I kept it cool. "Excuse me," I called out, voice neutral. She looked up, hands still on that pink monstrosity hair, so severe it looked weaponized. "Can I help you?" she said, like I was bothering her in her own living room. I introduced myself, pointed to my house, and politely said, "I think you parked in my driveway and, plugged into my charger." No apology. Not even a flinch. "Oh, that's yours," she goes deadpan. "It's a fast charger, right? Level 2? I nod, biting down on my rising annoyance. It is. Connected to my private panel. She strolls over sneakers, whispering on the asphalt, oozing this air of authority like she's HOA royalty. "That's wonderful," she says, patting the SUV like it's a show pony. "It's about time someone invested in the community's green infrastructure. My house, my investment. We all appreciate it." She goes, sugar in her voice, eyes cold. I saw my battery was low. Figured, why let a good charger sit idle? It's for the planet after all. That kind of entitlement you can't teach. You either got it or you don't. "I need to charge my own car," I said, dropping my voice an octave. "I have an early meeting 2 hours away tomorrow." She sighs, this big theatrical production of being put out. Fine. Unplugs, lets the cable drop like a dead snake, and backs out, leaving a tire mark as her parting gift. Drives the whole 100 feet to her own driveway. I stood there, cable dangling at my feet, feeling like I'd just witnessed something truly wild, a new strain of suburban boldness. Figured it was a one-time thing, a story for Sarah over dinner. But 3 days later it happened again. And this time she wasn't just taking my electricity, she was blocking my car in her SUV, boxing me into my own garage. Sarah's with me this time and she's livid. "Did you talk to her?" she hissed. "I thought we had an understanding," I said, feeling that anger spark back to life. But you know what? Sometimes people don't understand unless you spell it out, letter by angry letter. We stormed across the street, me not even bothering with pleasantries. Bill, her husband, answers the door. Nice guy, soft eyes, posture like he's used to apologizing for things he didn't do. "Everything okay?" he asks, half hopeful. "No, Bill. It's not," I say. "Your wife is blocking my car and using my charger." He looks stunned. "She said you had a sharing arrangement." "Sharing? The only arrangement is she keeps her car off my property." Carol appears, drying her hands. "What's the shouting about?" "You're making a scene." "Me? I let her have it trapping my car." "What if there's an emergency? This isn't neighborly. This is trespassing." She scoffs. "Don't be so dramatic. If you had an emergency, you could have just asked." Sarah steps in, arms crossed, voice steel. This is illegal. It's theft. Carol's eyes go cold. Don't you dare lecture me about legality. This is a community. Are you sharing your Wi-Fi? No selfishness like that is ruining the country? Logic, I realized, was not the tool for this job. Move your car. Carol, I growled, or I'm calling the police in a tow. Her bravado cracked just a second before she snapped, fine. But I'm reporting you to the HOA for creating a hostile environment. Then with a screech of tires, she was gone. That night I couldn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, hearing her voice, or what she truly believed, nothing could touch her. That's when the real idea hit me. I build systems for a living. Systems that don't just block intruders, but fight back, retaliate, adapt. So I got up, went to my office, fired up my monitors, and started writing. Project Nightshade. My own little trap. The charger was smart, connected to my network, customizable if you knew what you were doing. I coded it to recognize her car, and if she ever plugged in again, it would lock. Hard. And like clockwork, late one night, she tries again. Security cam shows her strolling out, keys, jangling, gym bag swinging. She plugs in, then can't unplug. Pulls once, twice. Jabs at the car's touchscreen. Nothing. Her face goes from smug to panicked in 60 seconds flat. Then she's at my door, ringing my bell like the house is on fire. I took my time. Let her stew. When I finally answered, she was fuming. "Your charger broke my car," she barked. I played dumb. Oh, it was working fine for me. Bill's behind her, wringing his hands. I explain ever so patiently. It's a smart charger. If it detects an anomaly, it triggers a fault. Most high-end EVs lock the cable for safety to avoid getting electrocuted. Happened to a guy online, cost him $20,000 to fix. You could see the color drain out of her face. Bill's nearly in tears. "So what do?" he pleads. I explain only the charger can clear the fault, but if I do that manually and something goes wrong, I'm liable. Legally. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Carol glares at me, then quietly asks, "What do you want, Marcus?" I go inside, print a trespass agreement and an invoice. Hand them over. "Sign this, acknowledge you trespassed and will never use my property again. And here's my diagnostic fee, $500. She practically vibrated with rage, but under the watchful eye of my security camera and half the neighborhood, she signed, paid, and slunk home. After I cleared her car, she ripped the cable out like it bit her and stormed off. Bill apologized quietly, defeated. When I got inside, Sarah met me with a slow smile. "A digital release fee?" she asked. "Seemed appropriate," I said, showing her the $500. "You're terrifying," she said, hugging me. "Glad you're on my side." For a week, peace returned. Then a cream-colored envelope showed up. HOA violation. My navy blue door wasn't on the approved pallet. Fine $100 per day. Sarah was incredulous. Half the doors on our street were non-standard colors. The kicker. The complaint was signed by Carol. And that's how it went: violation for the garden hose holder, wrong color, a flag that was 3 inches too tall. She was measuring our flag. Sarah said, "She's enjoying this." She was right. This was a siege. I tried fighting. Each notice went to the board. Richard, the president, Brenda, the treasurer, a silent third member, and Carol sitting in the front row grinning. I presented photos, made my case. Richard didn't even look. A violation is a violation. You have 10 days to comply or the fines begin. No support from the neighbors. Carol smirked as I sat down, humiliated. That night something broke in me. I realized logic won't win, but exposure might. So I dug in, read all 280 pages of the HOA rules, built a spreadsheet of every bylaw, every infraction, drove the neighborhood, documented violations, hundreds, compiled a report so airtight, so thorough you could audit the entire zip code. Delivered it to Richard, spiral-bound copies for every board member. The silence that followed was delicious. 2 days later, Bill calls. She's losing her mind. Lawyers' threats. "What do you want, Marcus?" For the first time, he sounded desperate. "Not money," I said. "Just leave me alone. But if the board wants war, we go public." That night, Sarah and I walked the neighborhood, dropping a 1-page summary of the audit in every mailbox. By morning, the community Facebook page was on fire. Neighbors realized everyone was breaking some rule, but only some were getting fined. Richard tried to contain it at an emergency meeting, but the dam had burst. George, the guy with the bathrobe, stood up, asked if he should pack his garden gnomes bags. Laughter shouts. Richard lost control. I stood up, laid it out. I moved for community amnesty, everyone's violations forgiven. I moved for a vote of no confidence in Richard. And I want a resident committee to rewrite these insane bylaws. Hands shot up. I second, George yelled. The room turned. Richard was voted out. Carol sat frozen and the whole neighborhood cheered. A month later, karma arrived with a vengeance. Saturday morning, a flatbed truck pulled up to Carol's house. Jackhammers started tearing up her fancy new driveway. George explained, after our little revolution, a retired surveyor noticed her extension violated the property line and caused runoff into his roses. Formal complaint, bylaw enforced driveway demolished at her expense. As the dust rose, I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, watching Carol glare helplessly at the mess she'd made for herself. That's the thing about people who use rules as weapons. You live by the sword, you die by it. I protected what was mine, sure. But I learned that real justice isn't about winning the fight, it's about exposing the game. So tell me, where do you draw the line between standing your ground and becoming the villain? If you've ever had a neighbor like Carol, or maybe you were the Carol, drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about where justice ends and pettiness begins. And hey, if you ever need a charger, just knock first.